I am here with Bernardo, the co-founder and COO of Concerto Biosciences. Bernardo, what are you and your team building and what problem does it solve?
We are building the deepest understanding of microbial ecology that lets us unlock billions of years of biological evolutionary knowledge. With that knowledge, we can discover new therapeutics. We can go after skincare solutions. We can go after new food ingredients.
Really important work and very deep tech in many ways.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the things that you need help with? What is going on in your startup today?
Right now, the most important thing for us is to work with companies that are interested in discovering new ingredients, next generation ingredients. So if understanding microbial ecology resonates, we are excited to talk to you and to discuss collaborations.
Perfect. Now, what do you love about building here in Boston, building this company, and building at the Engine?
Yeah, to understand microbial ecology, obviously we need a microbiology lab, but we also needed to build a robotic system that allowed us to study microbial combinations, build millions of combinations per day. So that needed electronics, needed machine shops, it needed 3D printing. The Engine has all of that in one place, which makes it the absolute best place to build something like Concerto Biosciences.
That's awesome. And lastly, what are some other startups maybe you've collaborated with or watching or learned from that you would give a shout out to for the rest of the community?
Yeah, sure. Here at the Engine, I'm excited about therapeutics. They're building some really cool stuff. Anvil Diagnostics, they're really questioning aspects of biology that we thought we understood and maybe we haven't.
This is Concerto Biosciences. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I am here with Naren from Tessel Bio. What are you and your team building and what is the problem that it solves?
Yeah, so at Tessel, we're building virtual tissues to design real drugs for chronic diseases like COPD. What that means is we use our lab-in-the-loop platform to train essentially a foundation model of inflammation that learns how organs work in health and break in disease, and we use that to match those diseases with drug targets and to match those drug targets with the right patients who will actually respond to those treatments. And so the problem we're solving is really the chronic diseases that affect hundreds of millions or even billions of people worldwide that maybe have resisted all of the great advances we've seen in biopharma otherwise. And we're tackling that head on with a combination of state-of-the-art work in both the wet lab and the dry lab.
Yeah, important work. Now, what is going on in the startup today and what are some of the things you need the most help with?
Yeah, I mean, we're at a moment of crazy growth. We've just announced our first collaboration with big top 10 pharma companies, Sanofi, and we're also working on an ARPA-H award to model how drugs interact with the body and the safety and toxicity properties of those drugs. We're engaging in additional collaborations and interactions with folks in academia, in industry, and honestly all across the world. So what we really need, I think, in this moment of growth is great talent that wants to come on board, join our mission, and build with us here at the Engine.
Yeah, and what do you love about building here in Boston, building at the Engine?
Yeah, Boston is fantastic, I'd say, for three reasons. So number one, it's a great place for folks like ourselves who are in the life sciences industry.
Sure.
Our neighbors here at the Engine are literally other pharma companies, potential partners. MIT is down the street and Harvard's just up the road. So it's a fantastic place to be at the front lines of science, the life sciences, and to find people to work with and collaborate with on our mission. It's also a great place to be an entrepreneur with a family. I have a 2-year-old daughter, and it's just fantastic to be in a place where I can work hard, but I can also enjoy a comfortable and fantastically rewarding life with my family.
And what are some other startups, maybe big pharma companies, others that you've gotten to collaborate with, watch from afar, that you would give a shout out to for the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the third thing from the previous question is the Engine is a fantastic environment in which to build a startup.
Yes.
It's been a great place both for my team to have a community of other folks who are all working on tough tech problems. And they've also been really, really supportive as we've navigated things like public policy challenges, government grant support, et cetera. So huge shout out to building at the Engine. And as far as startups to watch out for who we really look up to and respect, Noetic is one in our space. They recently announced a large collaboration with GSK, the pharma company GSK, focused on licensing their human data models for cancer. So an AI-centric deal where pharma is paying traditionally economics reserved for drug development. I think that's really path-breaking for companies like us in the space who sit at the intersection of biology and technology. So thank you for doing that work, Noetic BD team. But I think it's also fascinating because it's a template for how pharma is going to use AI in biology. Most of what we've seen to date is the application of AI to chemistry and designing drugs where the biology is already known, but really to unlock those new opportunities and transform the treatment of chronic diseases like what we're doing here at Tessel, you have to tackle the biology head on. So they've paved the way and we're following in their footsteps and tackling a whole bunch of diseases that are very complementary to their work.
This is Naren from Tessel Bio. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I am here with Joe and Pete from Aquinnah Pharma. What are you and your team building, and what problem does it solve?
We develop compounds for the treatment of devastating neurological diseases for which there's a really unmet need.
Sure.
Our lead compound in Alzheimer's disease is on track to be in phase 1 trial by 2027.
That's awesome.
That builds on some of the really nice evidence that's coming out of the field at the moment on the ability to modify Alzheimer's disease, but our program addresses an unmet critical gap, and that is the treatment of tau pathology and the toxicity associated with that. Tau pathology correlates much better with neurodegenerative decline and cognitive decline, and so it's a really important therapeutic place. In parallel, we have a promising preclinical ALS program, for which again there's not many effective treatments. And for both programs, the goal is to target fundamental disease biology and to develop innovative therapies that really hopefully make an important, meaningful change in the clinic.
Yeah. Now, it's 2026, 2027 clinical trials coming up. What is happening in your startup today, and what are some of the things you need the most help with?
One thing that we're encouraged about for ALS is that there has been recent clinical success with a rare genetic form of ALS. And I find this really encouraging because it demonstrates that this horrible neurological disease, if you get the biology right, you can modify it. And I think that's what we have our approach at Aquinnah Pharmaceuticals as well. So for both programs, we're targeting these pathological aggregates of proteins kind of upstream by preventing the chronic stress. So I think when you have the biology right, there's a good chance that you can really modify these diseases.
We saw some really exceptional efficacy in our preclinical animal models. Now, we are taking some lead compounds through IND-enabling activities and actively planning clinical trials. We're currently in discussions for partnerships. We're always open to more discussions with the idea of getting a good relationship that will help us execute efficiently and get into the clinic with a really proper development plan.
And what do you love about building here at the Engine and building in Boston?
So first of all, the staff here at the Engine, the operation team, you really feel that they're rooting for your success. So that's one of the things I love about working here at the Engine. The other thing is that we're really at the crossroads between academia and biotech. You can get those biological insights from complex biology from academia and then leverage those hard-won battles from the biotech veterans to translate that complex biology into medicines.
Yeah, and whether it's larger pharmaceutical companies, other startups, that you're admiring, watching from afar, taking advice from, who would you give a shout out to for the community?
It's a good question. In the Alzheimer's field, it's really dominated by big pharma.
Sure.
They seem to be really excited about the safety profiles of the biologics, that's immunotherapies and antisense oligos. And they're making antisense oligos against tau, and that really encourages us to think that we're in the right space for the treatment. It's an important area that needs treating. But in terms of smaller companies, we're excited about the development of DewPoint. They've just released something into the clinic. They started doing the first clinical treatments February 4th. So that's really exciting.
For me in the ALS space, I've been watching a company called Curalis. They're an example of a small biotech that was incubated just next door to the Engine that's translated an academic finding and a molecular finding from academia now to the clinic. And I think if they're successful for their one individual target, that bodes well for us because one of the things that they're looking to correct, our molecule corrects along with many other things. So if they're successful, I think that we will be successful, which is why I'm following their progress.
This is Joe and Pete from Aquinnah Pharmaceutical. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.